Now, from the Columbia Basin, your local news source, this is iFIBER 1 News, presented in high definition. The #1 source for real-time local news, local sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. With your iFIBER 1 News team, reporting news in real time as it's happening. From the iFIBER Communications HD broadcast studio in Ephrata, Washington, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
Welcome to iFIBER 1 News. I'm Alan Troop, reporting news from around the Columbia Basin for Tuesday, November 12th. Tonight, we report on how a suspect is thought to have robbed 2 Moses Lake gas stations and how Grant County is in good financial standing. In sports, Bob Kirkpatrick reports on Big Bend volleyball and Soap Lake football. Our spotlight story tonight is about Moses Lake's jump start on the holiday season. And we have the latest weather forecast for the Columbia Basin from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center. Our top story tonight, a young man is suspected of robbing 2 convenience stores in Moses Lake. On Sunday night at 9:27 p.m., a man entered Toad's Astromart on West Broadway Avenue and demanded money from the clerk while brandishing a gun, according to the Moses Lake police. He left the store on foot. The suspect is described as being a Caucasian or light-skinned Hispanic in his late teens or early 20s with a slender build, black hair, and brown eyes, according to Captain Dave Sands. During the Toad's Astromart robbery, the suspect was wearing a royal blue hooded sweatshirt and jeans. Last night at roughly 11 p.m., the same suspect entered the Chevron station in the 1000 block of West Broadway with a second suspect and demanded money from the clerk. Both were carrying firearms, according to Sands. They fled on foot behind the building on Marina Drive. The second suspect in the Chevron robbery was described as being in his mid-20s, large, possibly Hispanic, and wearing a dark Carhartt-style jacket over light blue jeans with a large rip on the legs. Anyone with information about the suspects or the robberies is asked to contact either Sergeant Brian Jones or Detective Matt Fulbright at 509-764-3887 or 509-762-1160. A Jeep rolled on South Pioneer Way last night after it clipped a Ford Fiesta. Witnesses told police the Jeep appeared to be heading north faster than the speed limit. When the Ford Fiesta was leaving a parking lot on the east side of Pioneer Way, the driver tried to cross all of the lanes of traffic and made a left turn onto Walnut Avenue. The Jeep collided with the Ford, turned and rolled onto its top, and slid to the entrance of the Safeway gas station. The driver of the Jeep, David Mueller, a 21-year-old Moses Lake man, was not injured, nor was the driver of the Ford, Mary Martin, a 69-year-old Moses Lake woman. The 2 drivers traded information about insurance and had their vehicles towed from the scene. The Moses Lake police are investigating and have not issued any traffic citations yet. Grant County government is benefiting from several construction projects as it looks at 2014. The commissioners began working on the roughly $131 million 2014 budget last week. The budgets didn't include anything more than the employee pay increases approved this year. The county's $37 million current expense fund does borrow about $243,000 from reserves, but Auditor Dave Firebaugh said the amount is down from last year and won't have an impact on the budget. The current expense budget, which includes the sheriff's, prosecutors, assessors, treasurers, and auditors' offices, grew by about $1.3 million. Firebaugh said most of the budgets are similar to last year. There are some additional requests that are not included in the preliminary budget. The preliminary budget shows money coming from reserves, but Treasurer Darrell Pheasant said it's possible the county won't spend all of the money. For more on the story, visit us online at iFIBER1.com/news. Each of the people you see here has warrants for their arrest and is wanted by various law enforcement agencies. If you see any of these people, the DOC asks that you not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but to call police. You can also call the Department of Corrections at 509-764-6180 during the day or 509-762-1160 after 5 p.m. We will be back after these messages with the latest from our iFIBER One Weather Center, sports, and more news.